the parties were able to meet abroad in Ghana, and after long discussions and negotiations, everyone agreed on one main point. Nigeria needed to return to a federation of semi-independent states. This would hopefully allow each region to handle its own local economy, laws and other matters, while the Nigerian military government would only handle matters that would affect the country as a whole. At the end of the meeting, Gowon and the representatives from each region signed the Aburi Accord, which detailed how this new federation would be implemented, and everyone left the meeting with a sense of optimism. And so it seemed, for a moment, there was a light shining through the clouds, and perhaps the violence and the ethnic tension would be put to rest. But these hopes were soon dashed as soon as the leaders returned to Nigeria, when Gowon released a televised broadcast announcing that he changed his mind concerning the Aburi Agreement, and he would be drawing up Nigeria's new state lines as he saw fit. On the 27th of May 1967, Gowon officially divided Nigeria into 12 states, and in doing so, sliced up Ojukwu's eastern region into 3 separate parts: the southeastern state, the river state, and the east central state. These had been done in such a crafty way that the majority of the Igbo people were now located in the east central state, while Nigeria's oil reserves were located in the other 2 states, effectively cutting them off from all possible revenue. Just 3 days later, Ojukwu responded to Gowon's new borders by announcing the independence and succession of his region, which was now officially called the Republic of Biafra. This was unacceptable to the federal military government, not only because a portion of the country was attempting to secede, but also because they were taking with them the aforementioned oil reserves, and Biafra had already announced a new royalty tax on exports. Gowon responded by issuing a national decree that essentially gave them absolute power over any regional government. But the situation was already spiraling out of control, and Biafra refused to acknowledge his authority. While the government decided on their next move, they placed a complete embargo on Biafra, with the crucial exception of oil exports, as they begrudgingly still relied on them, but later they expanded the blockade to include oil when they learned that the British oil companies Shell and BP had agreed to pay the royalties to Biafra. Shell and BP were vital partners of Nigeria's economy, and along with a couple of other British firms, they made up nearly half of Nigeria's total foreign trade, exporting more than 500,000 barrels of oil every day. Losing these partnerships would cripple Nigeria's economy, and so the federal military government knew they had to act quickly before they lost Biafra and their oil forever. The war began on the 6th of July 1967 as mortar shells began striking the city of Ogoja, a city situated very close to the northern border between Biafra and Nigeria. Gowon announced that this operation was technically police action, though it was in fact the army carrying out the assault. The goal was clear: retake Biafra through any means necessary and eliminate anyone who opposed the reintegration.
Certainly anyone with conscience know that it is something that is bad and something that we've got to try and put right. And various political political attempts were made to solve the problem, going even to Aburi meeting, the disagreement there, which really came about the interpretation, interpretation of the interpretation of what Aburi meant. And from Ojukwu, he says, "On Aburi we stand." And I say, "From Aburi you will fall." So that was probably the beginning of, if in fact you said it is the Aburi agreement, that you are using, interpreting the way you want and the way you want to force it on the rest, then of course we also have a way of resolving that issue. But the civil war, unfortunately, had to happen as a result of breakdown of that Aburi agreement. Despite effort that was made, to see if we can reconcile our differences and really save a very serious situation. But it got to the stage whereby we have Ojukwu, got his Constituent Assembly to give him the go-ahead to break away from Nigeria. And of course, then because of this tense situation, we have to find a way. We have to find a way of resolving that problem. And this Constituent Assembly statement was became almost a threat to the breakup of Nigeria. We had to do something, to remove, that what causes that fear. And politically, I thought the only thing that we should do was, to create, to break up the, all those regions, and to ensure that, no region and now new states would be too big to be a threat, to the unity of the country, and the fear of, the fear of that domination by one particular, state will no more be a threat. And so that was that became the new states, that the new Nigeria that we wanted to have. And of course, the eastern region under the command of Ojukwu at that time said no. And so we have to say, well, these other people have been created, and we have to defend them. And of course, he said that will not happen. And of course, as a result of various activities that, he took, taking over the federal government, central bank.
Currently, in UK, we can see current situation of former President Gowon. We don't know if the man is really doing well there, he has get back to his feet or not. But the rumors flying all over the country, the man is very sick. How do you see what Tomporo is review about the man currently?
Well, let me tell you, yes, that report was actually being published online, where Yakubu Gowon is telling the Gowon that there should be need for them to look into the issue that has to do with Biafra, and that BiafraWar was an injustice, a total injustice against the Igbo tribe, the Igbo nation. Imagine, maybe he's reporting that, or he's regretting, or indirectly, on one way or the other, trying to send a direct signal to people within his zone who are being killed on daily basis by the people he fought for on their behalf. Gowon is a very funny man, Yakubu Gowon. Unfortunately, he was never able to read his lips and understand very clearly the danger he found himself into by disaliving over 6 million Biafrans as a result of what went on in 1976 or thereabout, when the war actually started. He is being reported to be dying in a sick bed in London currently now, and life and death has refused to come. We don't know how is that actually, but that's the message we are getting from wherever he is now, that the death that he pleaded, but that all he can see is the innocent blood that was shed in Kano, the innocent blood that was shed in so many parts of the north. The innocent blood, 3.5 million Biafra children that was starved to death as a result of that unfortunate incident actually it took place. Well, Gowon, the question is that I don't want to say good morning to Yakubu Gowon. I don't want to say, how will I put it? Are you just waking up now? I don't know, how would I put it? The Fulanis you fought for have, abandoned you, and are already invading your area in Plateau. They are sending you packing from your respective communities, But since then, after the war, no Igbo man has invaded any community in Nigeria, talking less of killing, you know, and so that is different. So whatever you sow to please whatever at your age, at that time, you are quite unreasonable and you could not even factor anything. Ojukwu was more intelligent than you know, even though you are trying to deny the Aburi Accord, you know, Nigeria can never settle unless you come out openly, hold microphone and confess. Don't pretend over in India, die in a sick bed. You are seeing are Biafrans that died as a result of your decision with the British government at that time, you know, to keep people. And not only that, you know, are you not seeing it now? They are even coming from your area, Middle Belt now. They are killing all the entire Middle Belt. Gowon, how market? That should be the question. Should I say good morning to you from right there on your sick bed, or should I wish you a quick recovery right there? If you are coming out actually as being reported to say, yes, I'm seeing them. Nigeria should allow Biafra go. Martin Nnamdi Kanu should be freed. The world, we are saying, we are sorry for over 6 million. Which tribe can take that, you know? And now you are the region, your family is on the run as a result of the people you led, but with the other world leaders, other world powers, other world nations against a particular tribe. You know, today that tribe has not died. For your information, Yakubu Gowon, that tribe is still alive. And today we are bringing it back to you. You know, 40 years after or thereabout, or 60 years after, no matter how you're looking at it, you know, Biafra has resurfaced in the global world today, in the global map today, in the global community, and has become a subject, you know, of reference and deliberations within the international community now. While you are on sick bed, and your own people too are being killed in the Middle Belt in Plateau, where you come from. Shame! There's nothing. It's not no longer funny, you know, because there's no family in the entire Biafran land that did not lose their lives. Yes, if it was for Nigeria Biafrans, it would have been a different thing. But for other nations that backed Britain at that time to carry out a genocide, even though, yes, we cannot talk about it, because the Nigerian media will not report to you or tell the whole world that what happened, there was a complete genocide, extermination, that's what they call it, extermination, that's what they call it. And the resistance that the Igbo nation and the Biafrans are doing now has come to a point that, you see, that whether you like it or not, you have to see it and recognize it, because this is a project whose era and time has actually, you know, come. If you like, pretend from London, or tell British government, or call a press conference. And we don't want to be hearing from the back door that you are confessing over one issue or the other concerning the atrocities you committed in 1967. We don't want. Come out openly and tell us what actually happened. Why you did not respect the Aburi Accord that would have brought peace and possibly put Nigeria under a respected unity, where the Yoruba will respect an Hausa man and an Hausa man will respect an Igbo man, and there will be mutual understanding and agreement. But instead, you led a conquest because of crude oil. How far now have Nigerian problem been solved? It can never be solved. In the absence of justice, you cannot give justice. If you are carrying injustice, there's no how you will give justice. And average, I talk about the Igbos because yes, because they did not contribute in what you are seeing in Nigeria today. The Igbo man has never conquered anybody. Right from the kingdom till this moment, they have never invaded any community. Yorubas have invaded communities, conquered territories. The same thing with the Northerners. They have invaded and conquered. They are still trying to do more. It's only the Igbo that have not done that. But still, Nigeria want to keep people that were born free in bondage. And that is the resistance. Gowon and the rest of them have to take to the great beyond. Thank you.